Hey, welcome to the Purpose Podcast. Hope you are doing amazing. Can you believe that January is almost over?
What a great month.
It's flying by. Hey, I want to encourage you. You are going to be guaranteed impacted in our time together today. So I want to encourage you, like this podcast, subscribe wherever you are taking this content. But I really want to encourage you to share what God, not just specifically share what God does in this time together, but also share the content. Let somebody else be impacted by this. And so this month we've been walking through our values. Babe, what are our values?
Love God, love people, discover purpose, win your world.
So, hey, something we love about, I'm going to quiz Rachel right here, and she's going to get it. So the first two, love God, love people, they're the great something, and then discover purpose and win your world are the great something.
Great commandments.
That's right.
Great commission.
So I love this. So love God, love people, discover purpose, win your world. So love God, love people. When Jesus,
You're not going to celebrate me that I got that right.
That's me clapping for Rachel.
Okay,
I knew you would, and you did scare me a little bit there. But so when it comes to the values, I love that. Love God, love people. That is the great commandment. When Jesus is asked, "What's the greatest commandment?" He says, "To love the Lord God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength." And the second is like it. The NLT blew me away in a prayer time that we had. The NLT says, "And the second is equal to, of like kind." So that means this is where people's heads would have whipped around. The second of loving your neighbor as yourself, of loving people. But those are the great commandments. But I love when we shift these next two values of discover purpose. This is the Purpose Podcast, and win your world, which everybody's purpose is to grow the kingdom. And I know a lot of us like to hide from that. Well, I'm not a preacher. I'm not an evangelist. So gosh, like my station, like I get to be the senior pastor of Faith Promise, whereas Rachel, she's a stay-at-home. She does a lot of things, but she's primarily a stay-at-home mom. It could be easy for her to say, well, my purpose of doing that, discipling the kids, how am I supposed to win my world with that? Which we'll talk about that here in a minute. Mm-hmm. That's a lie from the enemy. Mm-hmm. All of us, our purpose is to grow the kingdom of heaven by winning your world. But we'll talk about that. I just love how simple this vision and mission that God has given Faith Promise in our lives, really. This is the values of our home too. But to discover purpose and to win your world is in the Great Commission. And we find that in Matthew 28:17-20. Whenever one of the last things that Jesus says to the disciples, he tells them, go into all the nations, baptizing them and teaching them everything I've commanded you. I am with you to the end of the age. He tells them to go and make disciples of all nations, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And so specifically today, we want to get in your business, okay? So instead of talking about the values of discovering purpose and winning your world, because I'm telling you, the year is about to just explode. You probably already feel like the year is going fast, but in our world, if you're a part of Faith Promise or in our sphere, February, we're going to talk about relationships. March, we're going to talk about money, talk about evangelism. Easter, it's just going to fly by. And if we're not careful, our purpose will go by the wayside. And so here's what we want to do. The way that Rachel and I, the best way, the most simple way, not just for us, but even for our kids, how we have seen to help discover purpose and win our world from an accountability standpoint. How do I hold myself accountable? And for us, accountability is giving account for your ability. Accountability is not where somebody calls you every day and says, did you do that wrong? Did you do that right? Accountability, really, it has to be giving account for your ability. And we do that through our personal growth plans. And so I knew you thought we were done talking about it. I knew you thought we were going to give that up. But our word for the year and our growth plan. And so here at the end of January, we want to take some time and ask, how you doing? We want to take some time and look, and we're going to share ours with you and revelations so far and where we're at and how we're doing. And just how in a good cadence you can have, but how you do. And please don't click off this podcast. Don't feel shame. Don't feel guilt. Those aren't from God. There may be some conviction because God has a purpose for you to win your world.
And if you haven't put together a growth plan
Right.
yet, aren't you glad that there's still 11 more months left in the year that you get to grow?
Mm-hmm.
So you can take some time. It doesn't have to be anything intense. Remember, just the 5 F's of one way you want to grow in your faith, one way you want to grow in your family or your relationships, one way you want to grow in your finances, one way you want to grow in fitness or your physical health, and then one way you want to grow in the future that God's set ahead of you. And it doesn't have to be this giant, huge, intense thing. And the more you do it, you will probably become a little bit more complex in your growth plan as you becomes habitual. But we just want you to take your next step.
Right.
And really want to take a look back and review how many steps did I take in January.
Right. And you may know this, but people who write down their goals are 97% more likely to accomplish their goals. And the people who review their goals are exponentially more likely to accomplish goals even than the people who just write them down. And so I read a book by Ed Milet talking about the power of one more. And he actually said the more frequently that people review goals, the indicators are that the more successful they are. So there's people reviewing stuff every day. Maybe there's something that you review every day. Maybe you review your stocks every day. Maybe you review your grades every day. I don't know what it is, but maybe you have something. Maybe you have somebody you like to follow on social media. And if you look to see if they posted something, that's reviewing something every day. It shows where your priorities are. And so I'll do this very briefly, but I just want to remind you my word for the year, and now I can give you some more depth because we didn't really get all into it in January. But we talked about setting your word for the year. Hey, where do you need to grow? Where's the place that God's showing you need to grow? And last year, circumstances of growing and to lead faith promise and different stuff really squeezed me. And when you get squeezed, the crack comes out. When you squeeze a toothpaste, it comes out. And so I found some lies that I believed about myself. And I can go into detail in another podcast. I got the weepies earlier today when we were all talking, so we won't go into it today. Lord knows what'll happen. But for me, I believe some lies that I was lazy, that I was dumb, that I was impure, and that I was a loser. And we could go into detail of why and how I believe those things, but God led me to a place where He wanted my word to be heritage, and more specifically, kingdom heritage. And so what I did is those lies that I believed, I went and I actually spent some time and I wrote down why I believed all of those lies, why I believed them all. And then I wrote down declarations with each one that was filled with scripture. There was what God said about all those areas, which if you think it's beneficial, I could read them, but I'll tell you why. Something that I've done, because I really want to grow in this. For God, for my wife, for my kids, but for our church, for what we do, for the kingdom, I just wanted to grow in this. So I moved this to every day. So every day I read these declarations. Every day at the end of my quiet time or after the gym, I read these declarations. And a lot of times I read them out loud. And so I just wanted to kind of give a context for, hey, how could I push reviewing my growth plan or an action step more frequently? And so that's something that I'm doing to see it every day. I know my word is heritage. I know my verse is Isaiah 54:17. And then I read those declarations out loud. But that is one thing that I'm doing to try to push I don't know if you want to call it push the priority of what God has spoken to me. Because if we would say, hey, God has spoken to us this word over our lives, then, well, dang, that's a priority, and we have to fight not to let it be forgotten. I mean, how fast we get distracted and how fast things get away from us. So, babe, what about you? And I know your word is inheritance, but what's a way that you're building the frequency, and by building the frequency, building the priority of what God's called you to do this year?
Well, the 21 days of prayer was really helpful and frustrating. I'm sure if you are like me, you would get to it and then like it's 10 o'clock and you realize, oh no, I didn't do 21 minutes of moving my body.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, poop. So you're starting over tomorrow, and so I think for me, having that on the fridge and every day being able to look at it, because you can't get everybody, you're going in your fridge every day. You can't deny the reminder that's there. And so for me, one of the things is having something that's simply present that brings it back to the forefront of my mind, because there's so much need of me just differently. Everybody has different needs and or things that are needed, required of them. But my stuff will just shift crazy. Like somebody legitimately will poop in their pants. And it's like, okay, 45, this is real.
It's not me.
There's 45 minutes now of cleanup. And in the process of the cleanup, somebody breaks the tub thing or throws water everywhere. And now all of a sudden I'm thrown into this whole other space that I didn't plan on. And so being able to just be flexible and come back. And I was really challenged by Zac to look at, hey, the ideal scenario, which is where I just want to live, is like in the ideal. That is not going to work for you in this season. You're not going to get every day. Like some days I do, I get, an hour to write everything down and study the word the way I want to, but a lot of days I don't. Somebody needs something. Literally, Valor, for some reason, he's waking up an hour earlier than he's ever woken up his whole life. And it's in my time. I've moved my schedule. I've been so excited. I've been doing so good getting up early. And
you are a surrendered, disciplined leader.
I'm a surrendered, disciplined leader. That's right. And I speak that over myself.
That's right.
And so Zac's like, hey, what can you do? Like, instead of having this space where no one's going to touch you, where you can sit down and you can write and you study, you can't put the notes in your phone. I don't like that.
Right.
And being able to say, hey, for me to take a step forward and to hit the goals that I've got, I need to be willing to surrender what my view of perfect is or what my ideal view of accomplishment would be, and adjust, be flexible to accomplish this way.
Yeah, it's hard to receive that the thing that's made you so live such a God-honoring life, which is having these boundaries and wanting to do things the right way, would be the thing that actually pulls you back from honoring God. Again, like
the
with
dark side of every
the
strength.
perfection. So like today, I got to live a fraction of the whirlwind that Rachel lives because she had to take jail somewhere. So I was taking the boys to school. And I was going to have my quiet time before because it's not my usual schedule. I don't want to say it messed it up because I got to be with the boys, so it was cool. But you know what? Like every time I would sit down and have my quiet time, because they all woke up way early, they're all over me, like what they did to Rachel. And so I got their shake for breakfast, and they're doing that. And so I was like, you know what? I can't. If I sit down there, they're going to get on top of me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do my Bible reading plan on Audible. Like I'm going to let it read to me. But whenever something impacts me, I'm going to highlight it so that I can come back to it. And then I'm gonna pick up all the dishes in the kitchen because I can do that. So I can do that. And I was able to do that for Rachel. But now tonight I can go back in my journal and do my usual. I highlighted all that stuff. I can go and do the things I like to do. And so instead of thinking it has to be this way, think of yourself as a make a way, find a way leader.
Well, one of the things that's really, I think, helped both of us is one of the things that we wanted to do to grow in our faith.
I was going to tell, that's great.
Is together, is doing the enduring word. What are you going to share about it?
I'm a filthy liar. I this commentary I really like. I used last year called Enduring Word. Like when I was preparing for sermons or studying the Bible, it's a great commentary. If you type in commentary on anything, it pops up. It's the first thing that pops up. And so I remember in my study last year it being relatively short. And so I told Rachel, I was like, hey, let's every night, because we're both doing the Bible reading plan, I said, every night, let's read the enduring word for that day. Well, and I was like, it's not that long. It only take us 30 minutes. I'm a liar. Like Genesis 1 was like Genesis 1 was over an hour of reading.
Just Genesis 1.
Yeah. And so because all this stuff. So Rach and I, we're just like, hey, we do it. We do it when we can. Like we are giving, like we have not read it all. And we prioritize now. We made a way and found a way. We can't do the commentary for everything we read that day.
And we can't do it every single night.
Nope. But we can't. I was at elders meeting, and then we have Wynn College. So we have stuff we're doing. So sometimes we don't get home till late. But either way, I still feel like we've honored this.
Oh, gosh. And honestly, like it's great conversation for us. Hey, I never thought about that. Or, we're learning. It's helped us to like learn something new. Going to the that one of the Win for 21 things. Hey, learn something new about God and then share it with somebody. So it's been encouraging for us and increased, honestly, like intellectual and spiritual intimacy in our marriage.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to be transparent with you and walk through mine. And again, I picked really like one, tops two things to add. But that was like for faith, that was the growth goal, is doing the commentary together at night. For family, I actually had two because there was the enduring word, because that's going to grow us as a family. But then scripture memory with the kiddos, with our kids. And so every night at bedtime, the last thing I do with them is I read them their verses. And I've got it right on my notes on my phone. I have it. It's right there. It's not a big deal. But now River knows his. Mark 10.
JL knows hers.
Yeah, Mark 10:45. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. JL, and actually it's weird because JL, school is a challenge for her right now. She has stuff going on. And so I would ask her, all right, baby, what is it? And she doesn't know the place. So 1 Corinthians 15:33. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So I really would say bad. The verse is bad company corrupts good morals, but I would say bad. She didn't know company. That's a company. And I would go all the way to, she'd say the last word. And then we've worked our way backwards. And it really doesn't take 2 or 3 minutes. It's on my phone. But now, honestly, I'm memorizing scripture, and Valor's, which Valor's too. And this is fun. And I know you're tired. I'm tired. On the way upstairs, I really have to strengthen myself in the Lord. I don't want to do it. I want to go lay down with Rachel. I especially when we're fasting. I don't want to do it. But Valor, his word for the year is peace, and he needs it. And so 1 Peter 3:11, we have to turn from peace. And I turn around.
Spins around in a circle.
I spin around a circle. And we have to do good and pursue peace. And so we do those things. So we're doing that now again. January is one story. What about February, and how will we continue? But it's always nice to be able to make progress. But again, it's that simple. Finances, we're not doing what I said we were going to do. Review a budget software weekly. We're building a house. We have all these things going on. We've been fasting, so it's been easier because we're not eating Chick-fil-A and Starbucks as much. Are we?
Well, I can have coffee on mine.
Okay,
now.
never mind. There's still Starbucks going out of the bank account, but less Chick-fil-A. But hey, we're not doing that. But every week when I look this over, I'm like, okay, man, I have
We have to make it a priority.
I have to do my stuff. And hey, I have to help sometimes. Hey, babe, I don't want you to feel guilt about this. Hey, what's one thing we can do to make progress? And then fitness goal, for me, I'm eating paleo, only paleo the first quarter, and then a 5% body composition swing. And why I want to bring this up is because I've made my desires clear to Rachel. Rachel loves me more than I love me. I love Rachel more than Rachel loves Rachel. So whenever I make my desires known to Rachel, she can help me. And Rachel loves me. And you know what's silly? Rachel loves me. When I go in the pantry, I have a whole section that supports what I said I wanted to do. I have a whole section of snacks and stuff when the kids are eating Cheerios, but she's got me something that it's the equivalent, if you will, of what I said I wanted to do. In a way, one of the favorite ways I've gotten to love Rachel this year is I said, "Hey, babe, I like a verse that I found in the Bible today better than the verse you picked. I think that this this just breathes what I'm praying God does over you this year, And she didn't have to change her verse for the year, but I added it.
I like mine.
I add it to mine whenever I'm praying for her.
Yeah.
And so we just want to encourage you, if you want to discover your purpose continually, because the day you met Jesus is not the best day, it's the beginning day. There's better days ahead, just like in your marriage or your friendships. But if you want to discover your purpose and you want to win your world, this is a great way for you to operate in accountability. Accountability is giving account for your ability. And you might be giving account to a spouse. You might be giving account to a friend or a group or a boss. Most importantly, we are giving an account to God. I don't want to wait till the judgment seat to give an account to God. And so he's so kind to me. He's so gracious to me, but he can also be firm with me. Why? Because we make space for him to do that. So we just want to encourage you. Review it. Hey, if it takes you 30 minutes to review it, you did it wrong.
It shouldn't take you that long.
Shouldn't take you that long. You do one thing in all 5 categories. You do your best. And hey, you really want to take it to the next level. You go through and you have a Word document or whatever, even on your phone. And what I'll do is I'll highlight it in red, yellow, or green, and I'll send it to the people who care about how I'm doing. Game changer. But we just want to stop, review, and encourage you that there's so much for you. God has so much for you. We believe in you. We love you. Is there anything that you want to add as we send them off? All right, we're so grateful for you. We believe in your purpose, and we believe you're called to win the world. So we love you. Walk in your purpose this week, and let's win the world together.